Welcome back to part 2 of the Seadoo RXT 300 rebuild. So in the last episode we had no success with getting it running because we had low compression on cylinder 2. So this is as far as we got in the previous video before compression testing it, finding out that it is still the same on cylinder 2. So if you haven't watched the first video, I would recommend going and checking that out and then coming back to this one. And then for everyone else that has seen the first video, well, welcome back. Let's rip this thing out and see what we find. So first up, I think to make my life easier and to not put any damage along here, I'm just going to go and rip the cylinder head back off. We're here now, it's only a few bolts, few rockers, timing chain, and yeah, we'll pull the cylinder head off and then we will start pulling the engine out. So that was only a couple of minutes to get that head off, which is super easy. It's got it over here. That was our new head gasket with the copper spray we put on in the last episode. So we will actually be able to reuse this head gasket. It hasn't had any heat go through it or anything like that, so that'll be completely fine. So in the last episode, we established that there was a couple of lines in the cylinder bore there, and I'm thinking it's got a cracked ring or something like that. So yeah, you can see there's something going on there. Look at that. So that's why we're going to be pulling the engine out today and figuring out what is going on, because we have 125 pound on these two cylinders and only 85 to 90 on this one. That was after replacing the head gasket, made no difference. So we obviously have an issue here. So this should be so much easier now. Obviously without the cylinder head on, we can get to the starter motor cable easy. Not that they're that hard anyway, but actually lifting the engine out, could almost lift this thing out without an engine crane. I might be able to just lift it out by hand. We'll see. See how strong I'm feeling. Just taking off the starter motor positive here. Get that out of the way. That starter motor is in such good condition. I've never ever seen one that clean. Like the stainless on that bolt is unreal. Usually they've got a bit of rust or something on them. Okay, on the front of the block here, we just have some earths. We have 3 earths here. Next up, I'm just going to get the charge pipe off there, off the supercharger. So I'm just going to take the exhaust out of my way as well, only because I want to unplug the IBR to get this harness out of the way, just give me a little bit more room. So removing the IBR harness just allows us to get that completely out of the way, so it's not going to get damaged at any point. So it looks like they have an additional oil cooler brick up here, which is pretty wild. It does look factory, so obviously they just tried it on this year model. I've never seen that on any of the other skis I've owned or rebuilt, so I'm going to do a bit of research into that, whether I should leave it or actually get rid of it. So one other thing I like to do, especially when pulling these engines out, is actually pull the supercharger off, because your carbon seal was down there, just here. And trying to release the clip on that with the supercharger in the way is near on impossible. So yeah, I like to just, it's 3 bolts, pull the supercharger out the way, and that gives you so much more room. So we have everything off the engine now. It is pretty well ready to lift out, other than the carbon ring and prop shaft there. So I've got all the hoses off. There was another earth just here, goes on the side of the block. So that one, it's usually a bigger nut bolt than that. It's a 10mm bolt, but yeah, Seadoo just like to do whatever they want between year models. So now that's all off, we can get onto the jet pump. We got to pull the jet pump out. Now I did forget to put it in maintenance mode, the IBR, but here's what it is. I've done plenty before in this position. So maintenance mode would usually be you'd lift it right up, but yeah, like that, it's not a problem. We can manage. We just have to unbolt it all. So yeah, let's get this thing ripped out. So this is probably the most interesting IBR setup I've seen on a ski. Like I've had 2018s, 2021s, 2011s. They're all bloody different. This thing is, yeah, I'm gonna have to pull this off by the looks, and then it looks like there's some bolts up in here that I have to pull off, and it'll actually pull the whole bucket off in one, because there's no way you can get to the bucket bolts in there. Okay, so the IBR's out. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing it that way, but it worked. So you got your 4 bolts here, and then your IBR actuator and steering. But yeah, it was a bit of a challenge. So I would highly recommend at least trying to put it in maintenance mode before attempting that. Right there, now we're not going to pull the pump out just yet. We need to take a look at the carbon ring situation. So moving on to the carbon ring here, just below here is where it's located. And it looks like I've done a bit of damage to that when I was trying to turn the engine over with my multi-grips. But you know, it is only the outside, so it's not a problem. Just looks a bit average. But yeah, in the last episode I was actually putting multi-grips on here and turning the engine over. So yeah, we need to take this hose clamp here off, slide the rubber boot backwards, preferably over the top of this, and then we should be able to access the clip underneath here, which will allow us to take the drive shaft out or prop shaft out. So it's pretty important to actually do this before pulling the pump out, otherwise it's almost going to be impossible to get this clip out. Now I do have a trick to get these off if this doesn't work. If you've watched my previous videos you'll know, but if not, pay attention, and hopefully we don't need to do it, but we may need to. So now you can see we have a gap here between the carbon seal and the stainless washer. So the idea is to push this carbon seal, the stainless washer back, and that will reveal a C-clip. So as you can see, it's actually pushing the shaft back into the pump. So we may have to do my little trick. I'm just going to see if I can loosen that a bit. So it actually is loose. Problem is they have like 2 or 3 O-rings under there. So it's just trying to get those bloody things to move. So there's the clip I was talking about. It's a little C-clip. So you just need to slide this ring back enough to be able to access this clip here. There we go, there it is. So now that's out, we can go ahead and pull the pump out and pull the shaft out. So the trick I was talking about, if you have that issue where it is on there solid and you cannot get it to move and the shaft just keeps sliding in and out, so they recommend to put like a block. Where's my torch? They recommend to put pull the pump out and put like a block across it to hold the shaft from moving, but it's like some special tool to mess around. So all I do is actually just pull the pump out, and then inside where the shaft goes you just put a couple of washers in there and then put the pump back in, and then that will stop the shaft from trying to slide this way. That's my little trick if you do get stuck. There we go. That's the shaft. Here's our washer and clip. I'm just going to sit them there. And you can see inside here, maybe there's a couple of O-rings in there. And that's the other side there. So this is the side that wears out. She's good to go. Wearing actually looks almost new as well. Nice. One less thing to do. So we got the engine ready to come out. I've just, I'm going to lift it on the head bolts, the old head bolts. Just got a chain on here like that. Yeah, everything's ready to go. So we'll go and lift this out. I just put some masking tape on here as well, just to try and protect it, because they can get, like the oil cooler and stuff, and get pretty close to it. Crane's here. Got my little mod over here. Yeah, pretty alarming, but it's the only way I can actually get the crane over the top because of the stand that it's on. The legs here hit on it, so yeah, it's what we got to work with. So anyway, let's get this thing out. Quite easy. They always are pretty easy, these things. I have actually lifted them in and out by hand. With two people though, usually just run a bar across and either side of the ski and away you go. But yeah, we got some oil in the bottom there. That was from me last episode when I pulled this suction pump off the front of the engine. So that leaked a heap of oil into the hull, so I'll go and suck that out as well. Give it a nice clean up, but main focus is obviously the engine here. So now we need to get this thing stripped down. So I think I'll just chuck a little bit of a time lapse on here and then we'll just strip it down. It's nothing too interesting. I've done a few of these before in previous episodes. Alright, so now we have the engine partially stripped. We've got the PDO housing off, engine mount off this side, engine mount on the other side, and also the suction pump. A couple of things to look out for when you are doing these engines is these washers here. So this is your starter drive, and when you pull the PDO cover off, sometimes they'll come off or be stuck to the cover. So you have one washer here, and then you have these two here that create like a little UFO. So just make sure you remember where they go. And what else was there? Screen. So here's our screen. Look at that. I would have expected to see a bit of metal in there, but obviously the suction pump was grabbing everything from the last episode. If you've seen that, that was full of metal. So yeah, this one is obviously clean, which is good. Means this oil pump's probably going to be good. Shouldn't have any problems there. So now we can continue on and just get this engine separated. So I might leave the starter motor there. I kind of want to pull as little as possible off this block because I only want to just pop out cylinder 2 here and just have a look, and then we can go from there. So here we go. We have the engine stripped now. We have the bottom case off. All the bearings look pretty good. You know, there's a bit of wear on them, but yeah, there's nothing to worry about. They will go again, but we are here now, so we probably will change the bearings. No metal, you know, in the bottom. Looks good. So crank journals, everything looks very nice there. So I'm just going to go and rip off this cylinder 2. Definitely no snap ring because it would have fallen out. Interesting enough, this engine hasn't been pulled apart before, and the rings aren't staggered. That line that we're seeing in the bore, it's right there, you can see it. All of these rings, what the hell, who assembled this thing? Oil ring and compression rings are all in the same spot. You're probably not going to be able to see it on the camera, but right there, it's like there's a line here, and then also you can see it's sort of deformed the piston a little bit. So it's definitely had something going there. So I just put the cover back on so I can actually flip the engine up the other way without, you know, the crankshaft and shit falling out. So then we can have a good look at the bore there, see what's going on. Okay, so the two lines in question are those there. Look at that. That one little line here, but you know, as I said in the first episode, you can't catch your fingernail on it. So that's why I was thinking we had a cracked ring. And then there's another one as well. But like, look at the bores, they're fine. There's no, I can see cross hatching. Like you guys probably can't, but it looks mint. Obviously you got your carbon, you know, your bit just here, but that's, the rings don't run there, so it's irrelevant. Yeah, it's so weird. Well, I don't know, I'm out of ideas unless it's a problem with the cylinder head, or, you know, like I said, there's there's marks in the bore, so something has definitely happened with that cylinder. And I can see a couple of marks on the piston where something has gone down beside the piston. Something's happened there, I don't know what. So, you know, are the rings cooked? Have they lost their tension? Is that what it is? So I'm going to rip these rings off, chuck them in the bore, and just see what it looks like. Give them a feel. That's all we can try, really. So I'm going to go with the rings are cooked. And why I'm saying that is that I can literally feel the tension is just not as strong as the newer ones. And then also, if you put the rings together like this, these aren't file back rings, by the way. And look at that. So the older one is like stuck further in than the newer one. You see that right here? So yeah, that's on one of the rings there, and then the same on the top ring as well. It's not as bad, but it's still bad. And this one, the tension of this one is actually worse. Like I can close that like nothing, and then this one is has a lot more tension on it. So I think we just found the issue. I reckon it's cooked rings. Yeah, so I could obviously just do the one cylinder, but I'm not going to do that. We're here now, so I may as well put, I got, you know, a set of rings here, so I may as well just throw a set of rings in it, and then while I'm at it, also a set of bearings, and she should be a good thing. There's no, I have new pistons, but there's no point changing the pistons. There's nothing wrong with the pistons. Look at the skirting here. It's fine. There's no, it hasn't grabbed the bore. Pistons are mint. So throw a set of rings at it. She should be a good thing. It'll be interesting to see how much more compression we have. So we had 125 on the two outer cylinders, cylinder 1 and 3, and 85/90 on cylinder 2. So I'm going to go and smash some new rings in here, new bearings, and we will see how it goes. About to put the bottom casing back on. I just thought I'd give you guys a quick rundown of what we've got done. So I just gave the bottom casing a quick washout, completely pressure washed the whole thing out, all the oil galleries and stuff, because I obviously could. It's a bit harder to do that with this. So yeah, new bearings in there, ready to go. Done all the bearings on the mains, balance shaft, rod bearings, everything's good. All the rings are done on all the cylinders. So yeah, cleaned all this up, good to go. Now when you guys are doing this, you got to be so careful, because anything that you do here will adjust your bearing clearance. So you don't want to go sanding too much off here, and you also don't want to put too much sealant on there. So you just smear the lightest bit of sealant along here. It's perfectly machined surface, so no gasket was required, just sealant. Yeah, it's all looking good. I want to get this thing back together ASAP, just so we don't get any contamination. I've also blown out all of the rod bolt holes as well, so we get no hydro locking. So yeah, we're good to go. I think I'll just go and get a bit of sealant on here and then bang this thing back together. Then we can put the head on and see if this thing's made any difference. So now we have the engine reassembled. We got the rock cover off. I think while it's out of the ski, I'm gonna go ahead and do a compression test on it just to see if anything has changed. Hopefully it has. So yeah, we got a little bit of oil in there, rockers, timing, everything's done. So I'm just gonna hook up a set of jump leads to the starter motor here to a battery, and then yeah, we'll do a quick compression test and see what it reveals. So we're gonna do cylinder 2 first up straight away, because obviously that was the one with the the issue. Now, one other thing is I have put a little bit of oil down the spark plug tubes here, just to try and give it a bit of ring seal, because these are, you know, these rings aren't bedded in, they're fresh. So we'll see what it does without bedded in rings. All right, let's see what this reveals. Hopefully she's a good thing. Hey, it's back on. £100. That's better. Let's go again. All right, £105. So before we dismounted it, we had, I think, was it 85, 90? So we've picked up a little bit here. Now, like I said, these rings aren't bedded in, so they need to go through heat cycling under load. You know, the bore's probably slightly glazed because of the low comp, would have been washing the bore. So that's good. Let's go and test the other one. It's looking good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's not obviously ideal, but it's, yeah, like I said, if that bore's slightly glazed, we run it through a few heat cycles and it'll be a good thing. Now let's check this one here. That is cylinder 3. Yeah, so that's much better. So we got 135 on cylinder 3, and that is heaps better. That is much better. Now, like I said, I did squirt a bit of oil down there, obviously to help with the ring seal. So that's helped a lot. We got new rings. Before we had, I think it was 125. I have to go back and check. So that's a good sign. All right. That's looking heaps better, 145 PSI. That's what I would have expected. So now, obviously, going from 145 to 105, we still clearly have some sort of issue on this cylinder. So what I'm gonna do now is go and get a leak down tester, and I'm gonna do a leak down test on it. That'll confirm whether we have any leaking valves or a problem with this cylinder head. All right, I've got a leak down tester here. Now my compressor is a little bit average, so it's going to be noisy. But yeah, CD tools, leak down tester. So we need the valves closed to do this test. So I can either spin it over and do each cylinder at a time, or I can just take the rock shaft off. And I think I'm just going to take the rock shaft off. That'll eliminate any valves potentially hanging open. So yeah, I'll just quickly do that, and then we'll leak down test it. So as you can see there, the cylinder leak down is fine. There's no excessive leakage going on at all. So that sort of tells us that the head gasket's not leaking. I can feel a little bit of air coming out of the exhaust, small bit out of the intake, but on all 3 cylinders. So obviously you're going to get a little bit of leakage over the valves. They're probably not perfectly seated, but in terms of missing 50 pounds, I have no idea what's going on. Like obviously, you know, if we had a wiped lobe off the cam, the duration would be way out, and that would be our issue. But like the camshaft, everything is fine. Like that is fine. The valve springs look good. So I think what I'm going to do, we know the bottom end is fine. That doesn't have to come apart again. It's completely fine. So worst case scenario, we have to pull the head off, send it away to get checked over, get the valve seats recut, whatever, you know. So I think I'm going to put the motor in the ski. I want to run it, heat cycle it, take it for a run, bed the rings in, and just experiment and see if we gain compression after the rings are bed in, and see what actually happens. I want to check the top speed on the ski as well, because these things will do roughly about 110, 120. So if it still does top speed in that, I'll be very, very impressed. But I just want to experiment with it and see actually what's going on here. So, you know, whether we have coolant issues or what. So we'll do that, chuck it in, do some experimenting, see what's going on. And then worst case scenario, I can rip the head back off in the ski, no problems, and send it away, because we know the bottom end's fine, right? So yeah, I reckon I'm gonna go do that and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I forgot to show you also, if you didn't see the last video, this is before and after of the compression. So we've gained on all three by rebuilding the bottom end, but we still are quite low on cylinder 2 there. So we've only gained, you know, 25 pound. And it is quite a big difference between 140 and 135. So these two, I'm not worried about. That's you know, 10%, there's no dramas, but 105 is still low. So let's see what happens after we get this thing running. We'll go and take it for a run, bed in the rings, recomp test it, and see what happens with cylinder 2 here. And just like that, she's ready to fire up. Now, I absolutely smashed that out. It's amazing how quickly you can get things done when you are not taking the time to film. So I didn't bother to record it because I do have a few previous episodes on doing jet skis, and obviously pulling the engine out, it's sort of just a reverse order. So I started at 2 o'clock. It is now 3:45, so an hour and 45 minutes, ready to turn key. Not bad. I've even got all the jet pump in, IBR, everything's all done. The only thing I need to do is just put this on. I need to glue it though, so I've got to get some silicone for that. And then also I need to go and get some oil. So I'm gonna go get some oil now. And then I haven't put the coolant reservoir support in because I like to start the engines first, make sure we're all good before putting coolant in. And then after that, when I put coolant in, I need to pull the coolant temp sensor out to bleed the air out of the head. So yeah, without this in the way, it's going to make it a lot easier to do that. That's how many bolts we got left. So that's just for the coolant thing, and that's for the rear piece. So yeah, I'm going to go get some oil. I'll be back in a minute. All right, I think we're ready to go. I'll just put some oil in there. I did unplug the coil packs and crank it over because these are a dry sump, so it's pretty hard to get the oil level in these things. You've always got to check it after you've started it, but I thought I'd crank it over, get some oil pressure up. So let's see if this thing fires up. Just chuck the oil cap back on. Everything's all good. Let's fire this thing up. So I don't want to run it too long, obviously, because we'll get some heat into the head and then it won't want to take any coolant. So I'm going to go and put some coolant in it now. It is very smoky because I did squirt oil into the cylinders, remember? So that's why it's smoky. I'll just give it one more go. Yeah, she sounds alright, so I think I'll go and put some coolant in it and then we will run it a bit longer outside on the hose. found something pretty interesting. Check this out. I can't put the camera over the engine because it's steaming and it fogs the camera. But I've just been running it and I got an over temp light coming on the dash and I thought it was cool. It's actually the exhaust is overheating. And I do have the hose plugged into the back. I've got water flowing out of here and the exhaust. But for some reason the water box, yeah, if I put the camera over there it's going to fog up. For some reason the water box is like red hot. Water box isn't getting cooled, and then also this little thing here is also hot as hell. So yeah, pretty interesting. I think we have another issue somewhere. I think something's blocked. It's got a blocked, something's blocked and not cooling the exhaust. And now I'm kind of confused because like obviously that just didn't happen out of nowhere. So is it possible that that was the fault the entire time and that's the reason the guy thought it was overheating? Maybe there was nothing wrong with the engine the entire time. Maybe it's been on low compression the entire time because the engine runs fine. So yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to have to look into what's going on with this exhaust because it's not getting cooled and it's overheating. I'm throwing a light on the dash and obviously you can just hear it like sizzling in there. But I think I found the issue, not what I thought it was. For some reason it has two freshwater points, one here and one there. Well, this one, if I trace the lines, it takes the shortest path of resistance and completely bypasses the exhaust. It's so stupid. So hopefully we don't fog up. It's got all these T-piece lines and everything in here, but basically it comes in from down there and runs, where does it run? Into the there's a cooler there for the oil cooler, and then it runs into here and it's just like goes straight back out and comes out of here. So it's like the least, it completely bypasses the exhaust. So I hope the guy that owned this previously was actually flushing it from here and he's pulled that out, because if he wasn't, then that means the exhaust was never getting flushed. How stupid is that? After we got that worked out, I went down to the boat ramp to test it out. Now I have certainly learnt the hard way about rebuilding jet skis or doing repairs and taking them straight off the trailer. So it's always a good idea to leave them on the trailer, run them to temp, make sure you have no coolant leaks or no internal leaks, and then you should be good to go. So while we had it on the trailer, I just loaded it up a little bit here, just to run it in a little bit. Keep in mind, I would not recommend doing this if you have a boat ramp with a lot of seaweed, because you will just suck all of that up into the jet pump. So after running it in for a short period on the trailer, about 10 minutes or so, I decided to take it out and do some wide open throttle runs. So we got to about 62 to 65 miles per hour, which is about 105 kilometers. So these things, depending on the wearing, will do between 100 and 120. So it's not too bad. RPM, we got 7,200. So I think it is a little bit low, but still not bad. This thing sounds healthy as. Coolant temp, the highest it went was I think 180 Fahrenheit. Now remember, I have fully advanced the timing, so you'd think it'd run a little bit hotter than that, but I didn't want to go above 180, which is good. Alright, so we're back from the sea test. Now it's time to see whether the compression is any better after running these rings in. So I put about just under an hour's ride time on it, probably 45 minutes or so. So yeah, I'm going to go and rip these coils out and we will compression test it and see how it looks. Alright, so we'll start off with cylinder 3. Bang this tester in there. See what she comes up as. Alright, 110 on cylinder 3. Alright, so we're back to our 90 still on the cylinder 2, which has always been low on compression. And then we have 125 on cylinder 1. Well, there you go. We still have low compression on all cylinders, which is so interesting because the ski goes like extremely well. It still does 115, 7,200 RPM. I need to check in the tune file what these rev limiters are set at. I think it might be 7.5. So that's usually how you can tell if a ski is low on power, by the RPM, not so much the speed. If it won't make RPM, then you know you've got an issue. So once again, originally this is what we had. This was obviously with oil in the cylinders here. So we are still low on cylinder 2. We're back to about 90. And then we still have cylinder 1, 145 is now 125. And then 110 on cylinder 3. So yeah, we are still low. Now obviously we definitely have an issue with the cylinder head, whether it's something to do with the valves. I don't know, it's not pressurizing the coolant. I checked all that, so it's not leaking that way. The engine's not breathing. When I was out the other day on the ski testing it, it wasn't breathing at all. I gave it a hiding, no issues. So it's been a pretty interesting experiment, this one. So the whole point of this was to see what actually goes wrong with these jet skis. So the next time I buy one that has a blown head gasket or supposed blown head gasket or low compression, we probably know the bottom end is most likely going to be okay. It's quite clear now that maybe the rings weren't actually the problem like I thought they were. So yeah, next time I buy one, most likely if the bores look good, the bottom end's going to be fine. We know the bearings look fine. Those bearings are pulled out. They will go again, no dramas, but we were there, so we just replaced them. So obviously it's a problem with the head. So the next time I buy one, or you guys buy one that's had a supposed blown head gasket or is low on compression, send the head away, get that looked at, and most likely the bottom end is fine and does not need to be touched. As you guys seen, there was no metal in the bottom end in the main oil pump, the way these oil systems work. So yeah, it's been a good experiment. The ski runs fine as it is. I can use it. I can probably use it while the weather's good. And then I'll look at, I've actually got another cylinder head in my sea container that I will send away, get that serviced. And then when that comes back, I'll just swap over the cylinder head and she should be a good thing. But yeah, like I said, it's so interesting how well this thing goes. RPM, good, speed's good, plenty of power. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it's another warning for you guys when you are buying jet skis. Just make sure you get them compression tested, because you could be buying something and you have no idea. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.